Hello, my name is Peter Parfit. Welcome to the new Brit workshop. Now, if you're away from base and you need to cut larger pieces of wood nice and square, it can be quite tricky. You don't have the luxury of your big table saw or all the other paraphernalia in your workshop. So what do? Well, there is a simple solution, and that is to set up your own track saw cutting station, which you can do very quickly and very easily, even when you're away from base. I'm going to do that right now. Now, in order to set it up, I'm using the UJK Parf Guide System, and its components are laid out in front of me. It consists of a pair of parf sticks, and these are metre-long rules with a series of 3mm holes drilled along their length. There is a 20mm guide block, some 3mm guide pins, a 3mm drill guide, a 20mm cutter, and the only component which is not custom made for the Parf Guide system is an ordinary 3mm drill, and that's part of the kit as well. Now, in order to use this, you do need to purchase separately a pair of the Lee Valley Veritas Parf Dogs. These are the small Parf Dogs, and they're made by Lee Valley under their prestigious Veritas name. And they're available worldwide, and in the UK they come from Axminster Tools and Machinery. In addition, you'll need a drill and a pair of clamps. Now, my piece of wood which I'm operating on today is a piece of MDF. It's just a piece cut off a sheet, so it's 1220 millimeters wide, or 4 feet wide, and it's just about a metre long in that direction. Now, I've cheated slightly. I've prepared a mark on here where I know I need to put my first hole, and that then allows me to centre up everything. Now, once I've made it, you can then do perfect 90-degree cuts time and time again using your track saw, or even using an ordinary circular saw with a straight edge. Now, for the first part of the process, I just need the two parf sticks, the 3mm guide pins, and the 3mm drill guide. I also need the 3mm drill bit, which I've put into my drill, and also a pair of clamps. And I pre-marked where I want to put my first hole. It's just here, and by placing this hole just here, that allows me to set up my very first parf stick in exactly the right place. Now, the principle of using it is very simple, and I'll put on the screen a link to the video which explains in absolute detail how to do this. Now, the key to the accuracy of the system is, wherever possible, is to clamp the parf stick in place before you start drilling the holes. And my first hole, I've got the pin through there, it's clamped at that end. I've used this little block of wood just to extend this clamp a little bit further so it's held in place. And my task now is to drill the 3mm holes through the holes in the parf stick. It's quite useful to drill a hole at the other end at an early stage, and that helps lock that parf stick in place so that you can drill the rest of the holes. And this will take no time at all. So that's the first stage there. Now, I want to extend this by 2 holes in this direction, so that's simple to do. All I'm going to do is to move the parf stick along, put a pin in there and a pin in here. I'm going to clamp this in place. Now, once you've used the Parf Guide system a few times, you'll find that as long as you're careful, you probably don't need to use the clamps at all. So that's my first series of 3mm holes across the width of my impromptu track saw cutting station. Next stage is to swing one of the parf sticks round, and I'm going to place this one here, like so. And I'm going to put a pin through it and through what is the middle hole across here. Now, the 3-4-5 rule is now used in order to set this parf stick up in exactly the right place so that I can then drill holes in it. So my 3-4-5 triangle is actually 6, 8 and 10. I've got 6 along there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here, and 10 along here. That's 10 down to this end point. And I'm just going to position that through there, and that allows me now to get this parf stick absolutely perfectly set up at right angles to that first row of hole. And believe me, this is infallible. Once you've done it, you will find out for yourself. I'm now going to clamp this at both ends, and I'm now going to drill some more holes. But I don't need to drill quite so many this time. Now, as soon as I've done this one here, I can put a pin in there, and then after I put that pin in, I can release the clamp here, move this one out of the way, reclamp that to be on the safe side, and then drill my final 3mm hole. Now that's that process complete, and you can see we've got a group of 3 holes here, a group of 3 holes there, plus those original ones across there. And now I'm just going to drill out some holes at 20mm in diameter. Now the next stage is also very quick and simple. I'm going to be using the 20mm cutter in this guide block, and I'm going to connect my drill to it shortly, and it's got a spike on the end here which is 3mm in diameter, and that helps it find its route through these holes we've drilled already. But on top of that, using a pair of these 3mm guide pins, we can position the block in the absolute spot on place in order to get that hole exactly where we need it. And before you use this for the first time each day, you need to put just a dash of oil on the shaft of the drill, and that then ensures that it goes nice and smoothly. Now I'm going to start at this end, and I'll just get my guide block lined up very simply. And so these 2 pins, they don't have to be in very far at all. Those 2 pins are in 3mm holes, and that's holding that guide block absolutely secure. You don't need to clamp this down. And then I can now connect my drill and drill. Now you will find it's very important to have a vacuum in order to take away the waste. Now, one thing to note, sometimes because of the shape of this cutter you get a little disc on the end. Do take that off. And you then move over 2 steps, and we're going to do the next one. That's in place, drill back on. Move over 2 steps. Check that there's not one of those discs on there. Now I'm going to put that in. Make sure that's firm. It is. Now notice my technique, I went so far, pulled it back up, down again, pulled it back up, and once more to the end. That's a good technique because that helps clear the debris. And I've got one of those discs again, take that off. Now I want to have a hole here and here, but not there. So I've now drilled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 holes, and I could stop there and this would be a perfectly usable track saw cutting station. But I'm going to go just another stage further because it then gives you a little bit more flexibility. I'm going to fill in the rest of these holes here, and that's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 holes to drill. So I'm actually making double the amount of work, but it's worth it in the end, and it only takes a couple of extra minutes. Now if you notice now where we had this set up before, that's my drill, that's the hole I want to drill, but this is where one of the 3mm holes is in here, but we've got a 20mm hole there already, the same there, and this is the only usable one, so that's no good. So we're now going to use a pair of the Veritas small Parf Dogs, which we'll use to position the guide block, and in order for this to work, we've got to move the 20mm cutter from this position to this position, and once that's in, I'm going to put just a dash of oil on there again. And that's really good practice, because these bronze bushes work best and last longest if you look after them. Now the very first one we're going to do is just here. I'm using the spike of the 20mm cutter to locate it in one position, and then a pair of the dogs like so. That's now held the guide block in place. And you'll see I've got my perfect hole there. So I move this over like so, put this in the new position, that's in the new position, and away I go. And I know you're thinking, what about this odd one at the end? Well, that's easy. Put one in there, position that like so, and there I'm ready to do this end one. And I just continue in that manner until those remaining holes are done. And that's it, that's the impromptu track saw cutting station made, and we can now use it straight away. Now in order to put it into use, you need a pair of the tall Parf Dogs, again made by Lee Valley under the prestigious Veritas name, and again available worldwide and in the UK from Axminster Tools and Machinery. And I really recommend you put them in and then secure them from underneath. It's an 8mm thread, and it takes just seconds to secure them. It's not a big deal. It's so easy, and if you count to about 8, you'll find that I've done an 8mm thread in 8 seconds. So there we go. So that's that process done. Right, so here's my piece of wood I'm going to cut. I've marked the face edge up there with a red line so you can see it. There's my track and my track saw. Now if you don't have a track saw, you can use just an ordinary straight edge against these two Parf Dogs and run the edge of your saw along that straight edge perfectly well. Now my piece of wood is pushed against these two small Parf Dogs here, and my guide rail is pushed against the two Parf Dogs, one there and one there. Now as an added bonus, you can get these little clips which slide into your guide rail like so. And once these clips are fitted, you'll find that they hold the guide rail snugly against those two tall Parf Dogs. That really does take a lot of the guesswork out of the system. The other feature is that those clips then allow you to move the piece of wood underneath just a little bit as well. So there we go, I've got my saw set up, put my ear defenders on, and I'm going to make my cut. As soon as I've cut this, I'm going to see just how square it is. There we go. Out it comes, put the square on. Now then, I'm going to bring this up to the camera now. It's just been cut. And I want you to look at that. That's held against there, that's there. Now you can do that in the field. You can set up a cutting station like this in a matter of minutes. Or you get home from work slightly early one evening or on a Sunday afternoon, you make one of these up and throw it in the back of your van. But if you've got the Parf Guide system in your van, you know that wherever you are, you can set one of these up in just a few minutes. Thank you very much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye. You're going to have to trust me on the timing of this, because this clock keeps on resetting itself. And as you can see, it's trying to find the right time. So there we go.